For those of you who are new to DBOS, let's start with a quick introduction to the platform, which is really designed to make it super easy for people to build distributed applications and protect them from harm. Problems like network interruptions, flaky backends, timeouts, processing errors, all the things that can disrupt, can crash, or just send even the best cloud application sideways and cause a lot of havoc. So the DBOS platform includes three main components. Number one, DBOS Transact, which is an lightweight library for building durable applications. It's available for Python and TypeScript, and you can run those applications anywhere. The only requirement is a connection to a Postgres compatible database in which the library will store the state of your application or workflows as they're executing. So their progress can be resumed after an interruption or a failure. That database can be your application data, the same database in which you store your application data. So for most people, people can sort of achieve the durability that DBOS provides without having to add a separate database to maintain state. The second component is DBOS Cloud. For those of you who want a hosting option, a serverless platform on which to run and auto-scale and auto-resume DBOS Transact applications, DBOS Cloud is available. And as we're about to dive into DBOS Conductor, which is an interface for scaling and monitoring and managing self-hosted DBOS Transact applications. Okay. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Qian and Peter.
Great. Thanks, Andy. So quick overview of DBOS. Most of you have already seen this, but just in case, main idea is to make it much easier for you to build reliable software. So DBOS provides open source DBOS provides ultra lightweight workflows. You decorate, you annotate workflows and steps in your existing programs. And what those do is those annotations store the state of your program, the state of your workflows and steps in a Postgres database. And that allows these programs to seamlessly recover from any failures using the state information stored in Postgres. And it also allows, as we'll show, some really powerful real-time observability and workflow management using the Postgres stored state. So we want to talk about today is Conductor. And what Conductor does is it helps you self-host DBOS durable workflows in production, and especially at scale. So Conductor is a service that your self-hosted DBOS applications connect to. And what it provides is essentially automatic recovery. Conductor detects when one of your application servers or processes goes down and recovers its workflows to a healthy executor. And it provides dashboard and tooling for workflow observability and management. So you can view your workflows, you can search and sort your workflows, you can cancel workflows, resume them, dive in and dig into their graphs and see exactly what steps they're calling, restart them from a specific step. It helps you operate workflows in production with complete complete visibility into what they're doing and complete control over what they're doing. And what's exciting about it is that it really designed as a tool for self-hosting. So it runs totally out of band. You connect to it. It doesn't connect to you. It runs totally out of band and with no access to a network or private database. So you can connect any DBOS application running anywhere to it. So now I'll turn it over to Qian, who's going to demo Conductor and show you what it really looks like.
Yes, I'm now going to show the demo. So first I'm going to do is that I've started a DBOS app starter locally. So I just follow instructions from our website. I installed DBOS, I created an app. I'm now going to start this app without Conductor. So it's all running normally. If you follow our quick start, you'll get the exact same app. So in this app, I can launch a workflow. It's a durable workflow. We checkpoint every step in the database. What's cool about this is that I can just crash the app. I'll just crash the app, and when I restart it, because DBOS stores information in the database, it can resume from exactly where it left off by looking at the database information. Okay, now it works all great. So it's a great feature that DBOS can automatically resume workflows and run into completion. So it's really easy for, say, you're developing locally or you're testing locally. So it's actually trickier when you deploy your applications in production, because in production you may have many VMs running, and you may have many versions of your applications running. So recovery is trickier, and because you want more coordination, and that's why you need the Conductor, and that's why we built Conductor to help you with that. So let's say, so now I have a vanilla application. It's a DBOS starter app. I will show you how to connect this app to Conductor. So the way you do it is that you navigate to your call console, and in the self-host tab, you click register an app. You'll type in the app's name, which is the same. This is the DBOS app starter. This is the same. It must matches the name of your local app. So register an app. And now it will pop up instructions telling you step by step how to generate an API key for the Conductor and how to add the key to our app and connect to it. So let's do it now. So the first step is to generate an API key. This guarantees that the connection is real secure, so only you will be able to connect your app to Conductor, not somebody else. So I generate a key. Remember to copy the key because you won't be able to see it again. But if you forget your key, what you can do is to navigate through the bar to manage your API keys. So you can see a key here. You can revoke it. You can add more keys. Okay. And then the second step is that we'll add this key to my local environment. I'll export this key. Some local environment. And then I'll add these 2 lines of code in my app. So the first line is to read the key from the environment variable. The second one is to pass it into the DBOS initializer. That's only 2 lines of changes to your existing DBOS app. Save it. And now I'll run this app again. And as you'll see, because I provided the Conductor key, now the app says connected to DBOS Conductor. And then on the Conductor page, on the Conductor application page, you'll be able to see the executors that is connected to it. It's actually connected from my local laptop. I can see this is healthy. So there are 3 things I want to talk about, the 3 main Conductor features I want to talk about. The first is executor management. So in your production environment, you just pass the key as an environment variable to, say, your Docker container, and then you can start as many containers or VMs as you like. And then once they are connected to Conductor, they will all show up in this Conductor page, in this Conductor page 2. Okay, and then if I say I can run this app normally, yeah. But if I kill this app, it will, because it's disconnected from the Conductor, you will see this app is unavailable and the executor is disconnected. If I restart it again, you can see another healthy executor got connected while the previous one still disconnected. So the cool thing is that because DBOS, the Conductor, monitors the executors and monitors which is connected and which is disconnected. So if you remember, I started a workflow before and I crashed the executor when I was running the workflow. So the workflow is pending. So the cool thing is that if I restart or restart another executor and connect to a conductor, the conductor will say after a grace period of the disconnected executor, it will automatically recover the pending workflow to a healthy executor, also with the matched application version. So currently the grace period is 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes, you will see no workflows are pending. Okay, so this naturally transitions to the second feature I like to talk about, which is workflow observability. So you can see we provide dashboards to visualize what workflows have run and when, and their status, and you can click through it and see the information of the workflow. And this is really helpful for, say, you want to investigate what happened, like what workflows run yesterday, or workflows which you can start the workflows. You can also filter by workflow status. You can filter by workflow name. You can filter by workflow ID, stuff like that. So we're adding more filtering options to it. And then, as we'll introduce it later, we're adding even more observability to this page. So like one thing is graph visualization. For example, what steps have run in which order. And then we'll also be able to visualize what other child workflows have been started by a specific workflow. Great. Oh, as we talked, you can see after a grace period, conductor signaled the healthy executor to say recover workflows for the executor that disconnected before. So we can see all the workflows become a success now. Great. So now we get workflow management and recovery. The third feature I want to talk about is actually workflow management on web UI. So say I have a pending workflow. Maybe the workflow is very expensive, is long running. I want to stop it. I can click cancel workflow. And this cancel button will preempt the running workflow and show it becomes canceled. And say if I want to resume it again later, you can also click the resume workflow button. It will basically resume the execution of the workflow from exactly where it left off. And then another feature we're adding is a restart from, we call it workflow fork. Essentially, we're going to support restarting workflow from a specific step. And we actually have more slides later to talk about why it's really helpful to for recovering from failures and applying bug fixes. Cool. This is a Conductor demo. Is there any questions? The question is the recovery grace period configurable? Currently, we have a fixed period, but I think it's a good feature we will be able to add. Yeah. Okay, let's switch back. Okay, now we have finished the demo. Let's focus on how Conductor works.
Yeah. So the way Conductor works is that your applications connect to it via WebSocket. So each of your applications opens a secure WebSocket connection to Conductor. And then WebSockets allow bidirectional streaming. So then commands and data can flow between your executors, your processes on your infrastructure, and Conductor. Then, next slide. So the way recovery works, for example, is that because Conductor has a WebSocket connection to every one of your executors, if one of those executors disconnects, maybe the server's restarted, maybe it crashed, maybe it failed for whatever reason, then Conductor immediately ceases this connection, waits out the grace period, and then if the executor fails to reconnect after the grace period, it sends a message over WebSocket to another executor or to other executors with compatible versions, telling them to recover the workflows of the failed executors. So that way, Conductor can detect the interruption of the execution of any of your durable workflows and recover that workflow on another healthy process. So then observability works in a similar fashion, where when you go to a dashboard, that sends a message to Conductor, which then forwards the message to one of your executors over the WebSocket. And the executor retrieves workflow metadata, sends it back over the WebSocket, and so it can be displayed on your dashboard. And the reason, and cancel, resume, and fork all work in the same way. And the reason we designed it this way, the reason it has this architecture, next slide, is to make it secure and private. Conductor doesn't need any access to private infrastructure. It doesn't need to be able to connect to your executors. It doesn't need to be able to connect to your database. Everything's done over the WebSocket, and only workflow metadata, not your private data, goes over the WebSocket. Conductor doesn't store anything. So what that means is that you can, as long as your application can open a remote WebSocket connection to Conductor, it can use Conductor. So, this allows us to work. This allows it to work in a much larger variety of settings, including secure self-hosted infrastructure. This also means that Conductor is totally out of band. It's not a runtime dependency of your process. So your processes are execute code normally, and if their connection to Conductor is disrupted for any reason, if there's a network outage, the Conductor itself has an outage, that won't matter for them. They'll keep running code normally and durably storing its state in Postgres. And then once connectivity is restored, Conductor will detect, were there any failures? Are there any workflows that need to be recovered? And everything will resume as normal. But your application can operate normally, even in the absence of a Conductor connection. It looks like we have a couple. Before we go on to the next step, looks like we have a couple questions. So I think Sean asked, will DBOS have parity with features and conductors? The answer is yes, because as Sean pointed out, they are literally the same UI. They implement the same set of workflow management and observability APIs. So those APIs are done in both DBOS Cloud and Conductor. They pretty much share the implementation, except one goes over WebSockets and the other doesn't. So that means that they are always a feature parity.
Yeah. After all, all the features are based on the information stored in Postgres. And as long as you're using DBOS Transact, we have the exact same data structure in your database.
Yeah, it's like under the hood is literally the same code.
Yes.
Just in one instance, the code goes through DBOS Cloud infrastructure, and the other instance, the code goes through WebSockets.
Yep. Okay. So is there any question before we're moving to some feature review and Conductor roadmap? All right, so let's take a look at some exciting new features we're adding to Conductor. And actually, those features will also apply to all DBOS Cloud applications. So we have two things work in progress and will likely be released either next week or in a few weeks. So the first thing is workflow graph visualization. And the second is workflow fork. As I said, it's a restart from a specific step. So, and also we are planning some features as we are collecting more user requests. There are two features in our mind right now. One is configurable data retention policies for self-hosted apps. And then, as James pointed out, we are also considering adding configurable recovery grace period. And another feature is workflow metrics dashboard, for example, showing how many workflows failed, succeeded, and maybe we can eventually build more alerting systems on top of it. So let's take a look at some previews of our work in progress. Okay, so let's first talk about workflow graph visualization. So we're adding basically a web UI to let you visualize workflow steps, their orders, and their status, like whether they succeeded or whether they failed because of some error. And we're also visualizing the parent-child workflow relationships. Say, if it's a very common pattern. For example, when you're building a data pipeline, you want to fan out to multiple parallel tasks, and then you want to wait for them in a later step. So we'll be able to visualize this fan out pattern where a workflow enqueues a lot of child workflows. To concretely, we have a preview. Currently, it's preview, so we're still finalizing the UI for it. We're still finalizing the style, the layout of it. But in general, it looks like this. So here's an example of our DBOS app starter workflow. In the starter workflow, we have 3 steps, and in between steps, we use DBOS set event to report which step has finished. And then you'll be able to visualize the graph on the web UI. Basically, you'll see which steps has finished and what steps had run. And then the second kind of pattern is this parallel fan-out pattern. It's actually one of the example queue workflow in our DBOS toolbox template, where this queue workflow will start in queue 10 parallel tasks, and then those queue step will run from a queue in parallel. So in this graph, you'll be able to see here's one parent workflow called queue workflow. There are 10 parallel tasks, and then eventually there will be a DBOS get result to collect result of the task. So we think it will be very helpful when you try to visualize what happened before. It will be very helpful when you try to figure out, like, for example, one step failed and you want to figure out what actually led to the failure, what previous step had run that caused this failure. Okay, graph visualization. And then the second feature is called workflow fork. Essentially, we can restart a workflow from a specific step with the newer version. So it's very helpful for recovering from failures or bugs. For example, if your workflow failed because your third-party API failed, like either your payment or your some email service is down, the workflow failed and you want to fix it. So the way you do is, but you also don't want to repeat the work before those steps. So you will just essentially clone all the previous steps and then restart from the failed ones. So let me show you a concrete example of how you can recover from failure. To say, this is a workflow that contains 3 steps, and unfortunately, step 2 had a bug and caused step 3 to fail. So it's a cascading failure. And now you want to fix the bug, and then you want this workflow to succeed. What we're going to do is we will fork from step 2. So under the hood, DBOS would create a new workflow ID for this forked workflow, and then copy the workflow input and the step 1 output in a table, and then it will resume the execution from the new step 2. Say like the new step 2 as the one with your bug fixes. And then if we restart from there, your workflow will succeed, and now you'll be able to fix your bug. All right. So is there any questions? We're happy to answer here. And more importantly, you can start your DBOS project. You can start from our open source library, and as I showed earlier, you can gradually add DBOS connection. You can add DBOS connection later.
Let's see. So Eric has a question about, so the output column specifically from the system database is displayed in Conductor. It's not stored in any way, but it is displayed. And I guess I guess the implication is, are you asking about security and privacy there? Yeah. That's something I'd actually like to get your thoughts on that. If one thing we could do is optionally not what I'm wondering is we could mask that data, and I'm wondering if that would be helpful for you and your use case, taking all the potentially sensitive data, particularly output, which I think is the only sensitive column, and masking it.
And also input.
Got it. Then, and there's another question, is component that registers products to cloud mandatory? So none of this is mandatory. Like the DBOS is totally open source. DBOS Transact is totally open source. What we're demonstrating now, Conductor, is tooling for operating DBOS in production. This tooling is optional and is closed source. You know, it's a service that we maintain, but none of it's mandatory. Like the core of DBOS is entirely open source. Like the library, everything you add to your program, the durable workflow is entirely open source. A couple questions from Sean. Is it non-trivial to build the Conductor tooling? Yeah, I mean, this stuff, the stuff that goes into Conductor is, yeah, the stuff that goes into Conductor is, I'd say it's fairly non-trivial, just coordinating all of it's non-trivial stuff that needs to be built on top and separately from open source DBOS, which is why like we because the stuff is higher level, it's coordination, it's dashboards, it's more than just a library. That's why we split it off and built it into a separate service. So this stuff is not easy to build yourself, especially because if you're coordinating a very large number of applications at scale and trying to figure out how to visualize all these steps and workflows well. Will I be able to select a 4-point from the graph? Yes, that is the intention.
That's exactly what we're going to integrate to our web UI. So together with workflow graph visualization, we'll be able to add more interactive operations to your workflow graph.
Let's see. Sean, I'd say, yes, you can use DBOS as hosted entirely serverlessly through DBOS Cloud. You can self-host it. And if you self-host it, we think that Conductor will really help you with tooling and will really help you make it easier, help you operate it in production. It provides visualization, it provides distributed recovery, and also like this tooling, this observability that will make it much easier for you to operate things. Not mandatory, it makes operations easier.
There's a question about remote steps.
A step can be any Python or TypeScript function. So steps aren't remote by nature, but a step can absolutely call something remote. So you can have a step that, for example, calls an external service, and that's really common. That a step, for example, calls an LLM or calls or does a write to, or does an S3 operation or performs some other remote operation or makes an API call to another service.
Oh, the question is any plans on supporting Rust and Go in the future? So that's definitely on our roadmap. So we plan to add another language at the second half of this year.
And
the question is the UI to develop the API endpoints and workflows.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. So we're constantly working on improving development of Transact, and that's most of what we do. I
guess the question is more of like, are we going to support drag and draw, no code, low code, if I understand it correctly?
Yeah, and that's not a priority from our side. Like we're not, I think DBOS, we want it to be as easy as possible to add to existing programs in the languages we support, Python and script now, more in the future. But we're not planning to make it a low code tool. Like we want it to be as easy as possible to integrate with your existing code. That is our goal.
Great questions. We'll wrap it up now. If you have other questions for us, please join us on Discord. We're always there. Unless Peter, you want to grab this last.
There's another question called, is it possible to define a workflow through JSON and YAML? So DBOS is a workflow as code library. So we define, usually you just write normal Python functions and then you decorate it as workflows or as steps. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Join us on Discord, the DBOS Discord channel. If you have questions, we're there all the time. And feel free to, if you're not already using DBOS, just come to the website and sign up for DBOS Pro console. That includes both DBOS Cloud and DBOS Conductor functionality. So you have the option to use DBOS to manage your DBOS Transact applications wherever they're running. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Bye, everybody.
See you.
Bye.